So today I want to casually just talk a little bit about feminism because I think we're fundamentally confused about what feminism really stands for. And a lot of the discourse that I see is that women are confused whether feminism, so being pro women having rights, is actually the oppressor here, because with women having rights, it means they have to be their own people and work and make a living and survive because they have that right. But that is, a matter of fact, what ruined it for women, because before this, women could just lay back and not have to do any of that providing. They would just stay home. But what is fundamentally forgotten here is that the women before us having the right to actually go to work, have a bank account, buy our own home, had no choice but to not only get married, but to stay married, regardless who they were married to, how abusive they were, how unhappy. Life happiness was not even a factor. The only factor that women had to sort of think about was, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Am I birthing enough kids? Am I making enough meals? Am I keeping a house clean? Am I good with my spousal duties, which is, am I just allowing my spouse to use my body whenever he wants? There was no choice. Marital was not even a thing. So, because we're a little bit confused about what feminism is, I want you to think about the following. Each time we need an entire movement to earn rights, there's going to be some ideological thing that's going to show up with a lot of ideology that can feel like a cult, right? So each time we need to get together and fight against something. Those of us who get together to fight against that something may form, what we can describe as a cult, because we all believe the same thing. If we don't believe the same thing, nobody else is going to be included, and all of that. So feminism as an idea started because some women were against and had thoughts around what was happening around them, right? So they started speaking up. And then what happened was a joint effort from a few of those women that are no saints or anything, by the way. They were just women who had these ideas and acted on them. And as a result of those movements initiated by certain women who were ahead of their time and they were thinkers, we have now laws that protect women. And we're still far behind, right? Equal pay and all of that. But there's so many things. And if you live in the US, you're seeing how in real time, women's rights are being taken away from them. Beyond the ideological concept of feminism, who did it? Who said what? What is it for? There's so many categories, right? And there's also the new expression of feminism and the new wave and a lot of the 4B movement, where women are going to tell you what the 4B movement is about. If you want to join it, you follow the rules. Sounds culty. Yes. I, for one, do not believe that anybody is going to give me rules on how to live my life. Okay, so that's the starting point. But the broad concept of being a feminist, if you're a woman, and whether you should be a feminist if you're a woman, is insane to me. Whether as a woman, you would think, I don't know if I'm against or for women having rights. How much brainwashing did it take for us to believe that the bad guy here is feminism and not patriarchy? That the bad guy here are women teaching and talking about feminism and initiating some change, and not men who continue to convince you that your purpose in life is to just have their kids and serve them. The main argument I hear against feminism is that I don't agree with what feminism says. My fulfillment doesn't come from making money. Who told you? Which feminist book? I don't know. But either way, we take the broad idea, feminism fought for your right to be able to make money and to choose whether you want a life where you are out there making your own money, meaning you're surviving on your own, or if you want to get married. Now, feminism said you don't have to get married, because if you didn't get married in the past, you had no access to do anything. You would just stay and live with your parents until they died. And you would be also mocked by the society because nobody chose you. And all of this idea around being chosen started from then. And we see it until today. You have women who are successful, content, fulfilled, and people make fun of them. Oh, it's because nobody chose you. It's because you're too old. Like, we mock age and all that. Okay. So within what is the idea of feminism is that you have a choice now. You have a choice about your body. If you want to get married, if you want to follow the script, right? But what happens is the oppressed, which are the women who believe their value comes from getting married, chosen, and being served by a man because he provides for them. These women are the oppressed, okay? In the same way, by the way, the woman who is free and makes money doesn't think that her value comes from the money. Like, this is just this, the inherent worth of the woman exists as who she is. What she chooses and who chooses her does not change that value. But the women who still operate through that grading system, if I'm chosen, I found fulfillment through having kids, and this is my life, this is what I do, then that group is the oppressed, coming on here telling us that her problem is feminism. So her problem is that women are talking about, hey, you had more choices than that. You could do more with your life if you wanted to. So we are pitting against each other because some women are continuing to preach for your freedom and tell you that you can be literally unpunishable after years and years and generations after you that were just tortured and owned and treated like cattle. So these women are telling you, don't forget. And you have a whole ecosystem of online content that preaches and tells you that a man is the leader, and I'm in my softness, and I don't have to think, and I don't pay bills. And we glorify that. We glorify being infantilized and pretending that we're not smart. Because look, we're winning. What are we winning? If we are a body that is owned by someone who is just paying our bills, it's pretty cheap. If I just pay your bills and you feed me, take care of me, love me, give me access to your body, have my kids, look good next to me, it's pretty cheap. It's a pretty cheap exchange. If I wanted to pay for all that separately, it would cost me a lot more money. And also, you're reliable and devoted, and you'll stay with me until the day I die. Oh, to be a man. We think the exchange is equal, but it's not. But then we argue, yeah, but what about 50-50? Yeah, but what about we take things from, ideas of how certain women operate or certain women teach certain things, right? If I was to tell you about what I do when I'm dating, that would be totally different. I'm not here to teach you how to date, though, so I'm not going to even say, but just to give you an idea, I don't necessarily think about 50-50, treat me like a princess. I also like to pursue if I'm interested in a man, but I also want, I want him to do stuff too. Like, this is a matter of how we want to relate to men. Don't abide to rules, I guess, is what I'm trying to tell you. When I'm trying to teach in this channel, I teach about patriarchy more than I teach about feminism, because I don't want you to take the ideology of feminism as a doctrine that you have to pursue, like you have to learn. Because I want you to be free. I don't want you to be religious. I don't want you to believe in the cult of men. I don't want you to believe in anybody. I want you to believe in yourself. And then from that place, you choose, I want to marry, I want to have kids. I don't want to marry, I don't want to have kids, but I don't want you to follow anything that I say or anybody's telling you. I don't want you to replace let's say you move from being religious and male-centered to I'm now devoted to the 4B movement and listening to whoever is the leader of that movement to tell me what to do with my life. That's the problem. That women still stumble upon the fact that they get to be sovereign, that we get to be adults. But we have to make decisions, though, and mistakes, and take ownership and responsibility. But we've been so brainwashed that being responsible for our own selves is like the worst thing that we could do. We've been so brainwashed to believe that taking care of ourselves and ending up alone, having to do that, would be the worst thing. And women say, my mind is off when I'm with my man. And they have 7 kids at home. Tell me how your brain is off when you're raising 20,000 children. Your brain is not off. You're multitasking. You're taking care of the household. You're making sure everything is like the housewife labor is so difficult and multitasking to take care of a household, to feed and all of that. So all these things don't apply. The soft life that you're being sold, it's not soft. You're doing a lot of work. But we have found such ease in being owned because in my own way of understanding the world, we've not been properly mothered or fathered to become adults, but we've been conditioned since a young age to know that one day we have to give up our independence, and that includes our willingness to do things with our lives that don't align with marriage and kids, for a man. Because our ultimate destination is marriage and kids. This is the issue, that we're following scripts. And yes, the natural order of life is to have kids. Sure, look at the world, right? So many of us look at this world. I personally don't want kids. If you want to have kids, that's amazing. But I think, how can I, even if I wanted to birth a child, I don't want to have a child. I don't want to bring them in this messed up world. I don't think that this world is going to be around for a while, for a long time. So if we're lucky, we're going to get through our own lifetime and it's going to be good and we're going to enjoy it, hopefully, the best we can and do what we can. I don't have a lot of aspirations of what happens after I'm gone, besides if I have left behind some sort of legacy that is what I'm teaching. And if I have helped someone somehow feel better and do something and do something they couldn't do in the past, right? So the point is that we need to make sovereign decisions because our decisions and the way we operate as women is based on conditioning, firstly from our parents who happen to be very narcissistic and emotionally mature for generations and generations before us. We're going to see a wave of change in the following sort of generations, but for the most part, except some, of course, exceptions, most parents are very narcissistic and emotionally immature. So these people raise us as women to already feel unworthy, not good enough, not chosen, right? Neglected, unimportant, insignificant, and teach us how to be their good daughter by providing and doing things for them and being nice and being good and all of that, being perfect. And then we go out in the world already knowing all of this, and society tells us the same, right? Compliance, the curriculum of compliance is coming in handy once we go in a society that says, you have to be skinny. You have to stay young forever. You have to wear this type of clothes. You have to look like that now. This is a trend. That's what we like. So again, we go out in the world after being raised by people who didn't accept us for who we were. And the world is saying, listen, for me to accept you, you need to do all this. And the prize now is that you will be chosen by a man. And we're so starved for that validation because of our childhood that we do think that that is the prize. And I keep saying this. I watched the movie, The Damsel. And this girl was getting married to this prince out of nothing, out of thin air. This prince, gorgeous also prince, showed up, wanted to marry her, whatever. And they were going and, they were doing the wedding. She was all dressed up. And they were going to do this sort of ritual to sacrifice something. And so as an initiation of their marriage, right? I had no idea what was happening in that movie before this. So, and then I'm watching it. So she's walking there and I'm like, she's going to be the sacrifice. And for me, that clicked something. Because when we are so starved for validation and approval, being chosen then becomes our only goal. And then when we do get chosen, we have this fancy party and we look like a princess and it's amazing. What happens after the marriage? What happens after? Because I don't care what you see on TikTok or on Instagram. Go out in your life and observe the married people you know. Are they happily ever after? And also, if you're single, you're not happily ever after either. That's not what it's about. What it's about is not to be sold into a fairy tale of what life will have to be for you in order to be happy, which has nothing to do with happiness. It just has to do with you're going to feel worthy. Because if you're single, you're somehow problematic. You're a red flag. You're all too old to be chosen. But everybody else who's been chosen is being treated horribly. They're used, abused, resentful, tired, exhausted. So what I want to dispel here is generally believing in any sort of script, but living genuinely and authentically the life that suits you, the life that fulfills you, the life that makes you feel joyful, not the life that others expect of you. That's why I believe, and in my own sort of ideology, which is of course an ideology, but I think it allows a lot of freedom here. I say, when women heal and do their own inner work, then they get to define how they move through this life. And that for me is feminism, because we will exercise that choice even more deeply now. I'm not going to give you rules. Hey, get married, don't get married, date, don't date. Obviously, I do give you some guidance in terms of you need to decenter men if you want to sort of do your healing work, and you need to decenter your parents. I give you guidelines in that aspect, but I don't get to decide how you live your life, right? I'm teaching you what I know. I'm teaching you what I believe. But when the work that we do is internal, right? For example, me, I didn't create a course of like teaching you. Here's what you do. If somebody says this, you say that. I didn't do that. And it actually took me about 2 years to create what I have actually built. And what I ended up creating is just hypnotic sessions that open you up to your subconscious mind, to your inner world, so that you then see what you need to see and you shift out of the conditions that are happening to you. I'm not going to tell you, forgive your parent, hate your parent, don't speak to your parent, chase love, I'm not going to tell you those things. But after you do the healing work, all of these things happen naturally, right? So my work was, I'm going to help you travel into your own inner world and reparent yourself so that you can naturally, as you do, grow into an adult. And then as an adult, I'm going to watch you live your own life. You're going to do it. And I've seen it with all my clients, which is why I created that. So I was seeing my clients, we were, for example, doing work for the mother wound. And then suddenly they're like, you know what? I decided to leave my husband. I'm like, whoa, we didn't even talk about your husband. What was happening? I didn't even know. They're like, you know what? I realized blah, blah, blah. So it's like, it was the natural evolution that happens after we heal is usually no longer tolerating being used, no longer being obedient, no longer being self-oppressed, setting yourself free, and being like, you know what? I'm going to do the thing that I know I'm going to need to do. Because this is what growth and healing is. Coming into adulthood. All right? And so my beef with what I hear, which is like against feminism, I'm against this, it's just so ridiculous that women built entire platforms still teaching you how to serve men, how to better serve men. There was this woman, I treat my husband like he's Jesus, which is moronic anyway, but, and then people were stitching it, being like, here's the nails. What are you going to do? Crucify him? But all this male worship is just sad when we are finally at a place in time when we can set ourselves free from that script, from that starvation to be validated, not because somebody loves us, but because we worship them and we worship them good. And we tell the world that we do. And the world's like, look at her, such a godly woman. Don't get me started. When I hear the godly things, I'm like, ah. But anyway, feminism was a movement, and it was like it was a range of movements. It's not just one movement that aimed at defining and establishing and achieving equal rights. Feminism began to be like, okay, we're the rights of men. We want to go up there because that was the standard. And it's a complex movement. And and there's a lot of nuances and a lot of learning, right? If you want to learn about feminism, there's a lot of things you can read. But in my opinion, you don't even have to sit and learn about the actual movement of feminism before you can start leading and living a life that is yours. And that is one of the choices that thankfully women before us fought that we have. They fought for me to be on YouTube. They fought for even the trad wives to have TikTok channels and telling you how soft their life is. And they're serving their man and they don't have to work, which, by the way, they are working because they're making money. But nonetheless, they're selling a lifestyle. And there's a lot of propaganda that is going to pull you back into what is the world's last chance to continue to survive. Because when women wake up, what they do is they set boundaries. And when women set boundaries and have standards and expectations, and also, look at that, they can survive on their own. We have, first of all, male loneliness epidemic. And second of all, a big decline in marriages. And that is a consequence of healing, not of feminism. Feminism gave us just the opportunity that we're like, okay, I've done my work. Imagine your grandmother doing inner work. Right? My grandmother doing inner work. First of all, my grandmother didn't even finish school because she had to raise her siblings. And then she had 9 kids, 2 of which passed during birth. And then she continued having the next kids, right? Because what else are you going to do? Imagine, but if she'd done healing work. She was in an abusive relationship, didn't even get the right to education, didn't have her own money. And now tell me, if she had healed, what would she do? So what happens now is we have this collide between the freedoms and the awareness. And that's why it's leading to where it's leading. Nobody's destroying your choice to be married and be provided by a man. But don't expect women to sit here, tell you, oh, you're right, you should be. No. We don't think it's safe to rely on someone else to provide for you because the person who provides for you can take it away. That's how control works. That's how abuse works. That's how we were made to believe. That's why we were taking away those rights, because when we didn't have rights, it meant we had to stay put and obedient. But now we're so self-oppressed that we think that continuing to stay within those systems and structures that put us in danger is actually how we are free. Now, be my guest. If this is the life that you lead, you're probably not on my channel to begin with, and that's fine. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that you exercising your choice to stay oppressed has to override my idea, my vision to educate women on how to set themselves free and make decisions from a point of freedom, not indoctrination, not childhood trauma, not patriarchy, not religion, no fear, no shame, nothing. The more free we set, the more we heal, the more free we get, and the more unpunishable we get. And so I'm not interested in maintaining the nuclear family. I'm not interested in women staying and becoming their parents' retirement plans just out of devotion. If these parents continue to abuse them, I'm not for all of that. But the world that we live in is going to be collapsing further and further as we do not participate in what was expected of us. Loneliness, male loneliness epidemic, bigger crimes against women, old people left and right, nobody taking care of them, low birth rates, men dying alone. And we are also dying alone with cats. These are not byproducts of feminism. What we are seeing now is women waking up and using what feminism acquired for us to move forward and design new paths. And in a few years, hopefully not too many down the line, it's going to be funny to even think that we considered being single is a bad thing, or men were the priority, or all of that. But anyway, my point of making this, because I was just reading some stuff and I'm like, wow, is that learn about what is around you don't get sucked in by ideology, right? But understand certain things that are around you, what they really are. Don't listen to men about what feminism is. Don't listen to men about what patriarchy is, please. At least listen to women. And after you've listened to some women about what these movements are and what they really aim, make your own, come to your own conclusions, and then leave it aside and go do your inner work. And once you do your inner work, everything will just fall into place. In the way I structured the journey that I did, because at first I had a healing journey for childhood trauma, right? And women were doing that. And the results were amazing. The changes were amazing. But then I was seeing this missing piece because we're not just conditioned by our family, right? So I added another phase, which is now the deconditioning from patriarchy, the scripts of love, all that. But I'm not standing there telling you love is dumb. Men are dumb. Maybe I will say that in a video, but I don't say it in my sessions. In my sessions, I help you explore you explore what you learn about love and whether it's accurate for you, whether you believe it, what you want to do, it has to come from you. And then in the last phase, because I added another phase, you're just now deciding what your vision is and creating the life that you want. So for what took me years to move through, I designed a program that gets you through it in about 3 months. If you sit down and do the hypnosis and journal, then you will feel a sense of growth and awareness that you're like, whoa. And then you can then trust whatever it is that you believe and you understand, and also what you want to do. A healed woman is a free woman, but don't expect that this freedom that we acquire will make us stay in the lives that we've had. And that's the problem, that things will have to change. And they will change naturally because they have to once you grow, but you have to be willing to give yourself the chance to exercise the biggest right that was, by the way, taken from you. Your freedom. Your freedom was taken away from you, and feminism fought hard for you to have it by giving you the option to be financially independent and to work, to study, to work, to buy a home, to get a loan, to get a credit card, all the things the feminism as a whole fought for you to have. So these are just some unfiltered thoughts. I look forward to reading the comments and see what comes up. I invite you to start doing a little bit more inner work so that you can realize that this has nothing to do with feminism or not feminism, right? That movement was needed because we were that oppressed. But what's needed now is inner liberation, is self-emancipation. Because we are so oppressed still that we believe that even the forces that tried to help us out of our oppression now are the bad guys because they force us to go out and work. Oh, the disgrace, right? The misfortune. All because we want to stay home and have kids. Stay home and have the kids. But anyway, I don't think you are that type of, you have those ideas if you're here. And I think if you've been especially raised by narcissistic parents, you know oppression too well. And hopefully, as you do your healing work, you will realize that all this inner oppression that you carry and all this hatred for yourself, and then all of the stuff that you learn about what it is to be a good girl will help you break free from that role of being a good girl and to turn into a little bit of a iconoclastic type of person where you don't care about maintaining things, maintaining structures that have been working against you since the beginning of time. So believe in patriarchy. Don't believe in feminism. Don't believe it, whatever. Do whatever you want. But I would strongly advise you to do some healing work, some inner work, so that you see for yourself what it feels like to be your own person, to have your own thoughts, to stand with integrity with who you are, to not live by scripts, and also to not be so quick to believe that being chosen and having kids is the only path in your life, because maybe that's there's more for you. And I guess ultimately that's what feminism tried to do. There's more for us, but we didn't know. I feel like if we see these from a further lens, from a far lens, we'll see that we're all just, Playmobil little characters, and like, here's the girl, here's the boy, have kids, blah, blah, blah. And then the world keeps going. And it's as simple as that. But then we grow, and then we have nuances, and we have other interests, and we have other passions. We have a woman who wants to be a writer, another one that wants to be an astronaut. And she's like, you know what, I don't want to have kids, but maybe you have one that wants to do both. Like, the nuances open up. It's like when we were kids, we just have a Barbie that looked it was blonde Barbie with a bathing suit. Now you have all colors and all featured type of Barbies. You have disabled Barbies. You have Barbie who's a doctor, Barbie who is a scientist, Barbie who's all sorts of things, not just Barbie with the little clothes, right? So we're coming out of those strict boxes of what a woman should be. And surely we can read about it and be like, oh, wow, yeah. But in reality, when we do healing work, we will see that we've been put in so many boxes since we're kids, and slowly start break out of that. And then the natural byproduct of emotional growth, right? And emotionally becoming an adult, emotional adulthood, will be to set ourselves free from so many things. So I would invite you to start doing inner work, not to attract a man, to be better, to fix yourself and all that, but to really come to a place of knowing not only who you are, but also what kind of life you want to lead. And then to break free from all the things that are holding you back from that life, which are a lot of those things that you've been conditioned to believe about yourself or about what a woman is, which is really specific, what the good woman looks like as opposed to the bad woman. I'll never forget when I was younger, I knew this woman who was working in a bank. She was probably 40 at the time. She looked really cool. She was, I guess, divorced or something. She was single. And she was really annoyed at the bank system. And then she just quit. And I remember thinking, wow, she's so cool. She's so cool. Look at her. She left the man who she didn't like anymore. She left the job she didn't like anymore. She's going to go out there and do life on her own. I felt like that was for me. I admired that. And I remember I was hearing conversation about her through an inner circle that knew her, and they were all like, she's crazy. That woman is so crazy. She just blew her life up. And I thought to myself, it's so interesting that why are they thinking she blew her life up? I'm thinking she's the coolest and strongest and most brave person I know. So that hopefully can give you a type of perspective. What is seen as crazy to some, to others can seem like an act of liberation and living in alignment with their lives. And what ultimately matters is that we're content with our own lives and our own choices. Even if we make the wrong ones, that we can also be responsible for them. But to an extent, maybe it's easier to follow a script if you want to just do things and then when they fail to blame someone else. But then there's so much magic and freedom. And I personally, for one, I'm so glad that we have the right to exercise it. And I hope we weren't thinking about, should I exercise my freedom and just live our lives as free women? And whatever that means for each one of you, that's what we would be. I'll see you soon.